Good morning, friends. All right, I'm looking a little crazy. I want to make some porridge, scratch made porridge, and get some bread making, and then I'll jump in the shower and get ready for the day. But we're starting off with some porridge. Now, I've got my coffee here. I've never made porridge before from scratch. Generally, we use these Uncle Toby oats. Delicious. It's been years since I've had it, but I'm just like, I want something warm. It's so cold this morning. I didn't do a grocery shop. We've been just popping out every day or every couple of days just to get the few bits that we need. I just haven't bothered to do a full shop. I've just, when I need something, I only want to run in quickly, so didn't end up really shopping, so we don't have much. Do have some oats, we have honey, we've got milk, and we've got water. That seems to be our ingredients, so let's just get started and get that on the stove and cooking because I'm hungry and I want something warm to fill me up. And then yeah, once we've enjoyed our breakfast, we'll start some bread, I'll jump in the shower, and then we'll continue our day from there. All right, so we're gonna do 2 cups of oats. And if this turns out good, it seems to be a pretty easy recipe to remember how to make. So with our 2 cups of oats, we do 2 cups of milk, 2 cups of water, and then we want this on a medium heat, and it'll only cook on a medium heat until the temperature comes up a little bit, and then we'll add in the rest of our ingredients into the pot. I had a comment the other day about my spatula. I do use Christmas spatulas all year round. I don't know why, but I feel like you can't buy regular spatulas like this in just like Kmart. You get the ones with the handles all plastic, like it's all one plastic, but with a wooden handle and a rubber. And the Christmas ones are always thicker, the rubber, I noticed too. It's crazy, but you just don't see them as often. I don't see them, I don't think, to buy it. Like some non-Christmas decorated ones, but they work, so I do use them all year round. I just thought it was funny someone commented. So with this recipe, it's pretty much everything's 2 cups of oats, 2 cups of milk, 2 cups of water. We'll add 2 teaspoons of honey, but I need to wait until that mixture has heated a little bit because my honey, if your honey's liquid, it's fine. Oh no. There we go. This honey is, I've never seen a honey so crystallized before. So I want to wait till it's a little bit heated so this can hopefully melt through straight away. I haven't tried this honey, Nick's only tried it. It is a local honey. There are bits in it though. But I don't know, we'll give it a try. It smells good. It's just extremely crystallized, but if you don't want honey or you don't like honey, maple syrup's a good alternative. Oh my goodness, my hair's a mess. And then we'll also be adding a dash of vanilla, and I think we'll sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon on top. That sounds really delicious. And you can add nuts and seeds and berries and all sorts of flavors, but I'm just gonna go with a classic honey oatmeal. All right, we're getting a little steamy now, so I'll add in 2 teaspoons of honey. Oh my goodness. I would have liked to garnish with a bit of honey on top, but that's not happening with this honey. But that's okay. I just think because it's so cold. We're in winter now, and it's actually starting to feel like winter. And I'm gonna add a pinch of salt. We're using this salt, which is Redmond's real salt. Nick ordered this, and oh my goodness, we are hooked. So we're just gonna add a pinch of salt, and that's just gonna help to intensify the flavors of the honey and the vanilla. It's not gonna make the porridge taste salty unless you obviously over salt it. And then last ingredient we're gonna add is vanilla, but we're gonna wait until this is finished and off of the heat, because if you were to add vanilla now, because it's mainly alcohol based, vanilla is, the alcohol will just cook off, boil off, simmer off, whatever, and you've lost your flavoring. It's just kind of evaporated rather than being in the dish. So we'll add that at the end. But we want this to simmer. We'll just stir it occasionally. I think that honey's already melted through. But we'll let this simmer until the consistency is right. So about 5-7 minutes apparently. Alright, so now for our bread. I use Becky's recipe from Acre Homestead, or her website is Scratch Pantry. Her bread recipe, sandwich bread, by the way, I should specify what kind of bread we're making. We're making white sandwich bread. Her bread recipe is the best recipe, bread sandwich recipe I've came across, but it's still not what I'm after. I don't know what I want it the more flexible, like more regular store-bought bread. Hers doesn't have that flexibility. but everything else is absolutely amazing, delicious. It is definitely by far the best bread recipe I've came across. So I'll leave that recipe down below. I also leave the recipe for the porridge down below. So although it's not exactly what I'm still on the search for of a bread recipe, that's what I know. We want bread, and I know we love that. I'm also gonna half a recipe. Her recipe is automatically a double size. So I just half it because I only have one loaf tin to bake bread. So let's bake some bread. Okay, so I'm just reading her recipe and it starts with blooming the yeast, which makes sense. I'm using these stainless steel bowls and they are so cold. So the one I'm going to be using to bloom the yeast, I have with a little bit of hot water to heat up the bowl. Because if I were to put in a cup of warm water into the bowl, it's instantly going to go cold because the temperature of this bowl is so cold. Same with glass as well. So, and another thing I want to do is, I mean, it's not that important right now, but once the yeast goes into the mixture, is have a towel, a tea towel wrapped around, and that's just going to help insulate the stainless steel bowl and keep it nice and warm, kind of like a little blanket for the bowl. So I want to get a clean tea towel out. But what we're going to do is start with the flour side. So I can whisk the flour, and then it's not wet and it's not going to go yucky when I use the same whisk for the yeast mixture. So because I don't like using too many dishes, we need 2 3/4 cups of bread flour. This is the bread flour I am using, and her recipe is 5 cups, but again I'm halving it. So her recipe, sorry, is 5.5 cups, but because I'm halving it, it'll be 2 3/4. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. Pinch of salt. And we just want to whisk the flour and the salt together to break up any lumps if there is in this flour, which this flour is pretty good. And just combine that salt with the flour. All right, we'll set that aside until we need it. All right, so I got 1 cup of warm water. This bowl as well has this rubber bit, so that's really good to help protecting the coldness from the bench. We want 1/6 cup of sugar. So her recipe calls for 1/3 cup of sugar. So I'm just gonna eyeball my 1/3 cup measure and do half of that. It's probably, I don't actually know, but I'm assuming like a couple of tablespoons. I'm sure I could Google it and do it using spoons, but we can just eyeball half of this measuring cup. And you generally do want sugar, that helps feeding the yeast. If you were to add salt directly on yeast, that kills it. So that's why the salt generally goes with the flour mix. The yeast I keep in the fridge, makes it last longer, and this is an instant dried active yeast. Instant dried yeast, whatever. And I'm doing 3/4 tablespoon of yeast. Give this a quick mix. And now I'm going to set this in front of my window where it's the nice warmest spot. Alrighty, so it's been 5 minutes and this consistency is really good. I did turn it down just a little bit because it got very bubbly, and it was fine. It still kept a simmer and bubbling away. But this consistency, like, I like the liquid still in it, but the liquid's nice and thick. You can tell that the oats are nice and cooked. You can just see it and feel it. So what we're going to do now is add in our vanilla. The recipe calls for like 1/4 teaspoon, but you know what? Let's just do like a teaspoon. And also it smells really good. It smells like the regular porridge you would buy, like those quick 90-second sachets, the Uncle Toby ones. Except the honey smell, it doesn't smell that intense of honey, and I would taste it, but this is steaming hot. You definitely want to let this sit for a good 5-10 minutes before you serve and dig into it. So I'm just doing what the recipe said. But I mean, I did add a lot more vanilla, and I can smell that the vanilla smells really good. So maybe this is more gonna be vanilla orientated in the flavor rather than honey, and that's okay. But next time I'll probably, I mean, it might taste beautiful of honey. We'll see when we serve it. But just to note for next time, maybe I might want to add more honey, maybe not. We'll just see. So yeah, it's completely off the heat now. All right, let's taste test these oats. It smells so good. It smells more vanilla based than vanilla. Wow. Oh, I haven't even made this from scratch before. That's so easy. I wanted to do this with cinnamon as well, but we didn't have any. I didn't realize. Oh, good. That's good. It's just regular oats. Definitely can't taste much honey. So if it wasn't crystallized, I'll just squirt some on top. But also, I reckon I'll probably easily double the amount of honey when I do make it next. Still really good though. Alrighty, so our yeast is nice and bloom, so I'll bring that back. We'll bring this bowl back, and what we want to add in is 1/8 of a cup of oil. So again, her recipe calls for 1/4 of a cup. We're halving that, so I'm just going to eyeball half of my 1/4 cup measurer here. This is some light taste olive oil. Honestly, tastes disgusting, but I guess it's neutral, so we'll be alright for this recipe. So we'll add that in with the yeast. So this is the oil. I brought it for salads, but it tastes bad. But I have been using it up in baked goods, and you generally can't taste it in baked goods. We also want to add in the flours, well, the flour mix. And I like to combine my bread using a silicone spatula. And again, this is a Christmas one. So we'll just give this a mix till you can't mix it anymore. And then we have to knead it until it's nice and smooth. You can use a stand mixer if you prefer, but I like to knead by hand, so that's what I do. All right, so we'll have our bowl again. No need to clean it, it's perfectly fine. Just put in a tad of oil. I'm gonna get this rolled up in the oil. Now you'd normally want this to rest or improve until it's double in size, generally about an hour. Probably gonna go for about an hour and a half to 2 hours just because it's, again, cold here. We're in winter. If it was spring or summer, probably half hour to an hour max. All right, so I'm clean, I'm washed. My hair is like just air drying and is a mess, but that's okay. Our dough, it's been about an hour and a half. I ended up moving it into the lounge room with the heater on, but we're doubled in size, so that is good. We will get it ready for this loaf tin. Once it goes into this loaf, I'm gonna put it again back in the lounge with the heater on for about 30 minutes, just to proof it and get it nice and fluffy again before we bake it. And a tip I've learned with baking paper is to wet it. So, get some baking paper and I'll just wet it. There we go. And it just so easily, without fighting back at you, sits in the pan that you want it in. Just make sure to make the creases folded. And there we go. All right, best part about dough. Alrighty. So to shape the dough is very easy. You just kind of spread it out, just lightly, nothing too crazy. And then you want to roll it. And then these end pieces, we're going to tuck under itself. tuck under itself. So I like to, so they're kind of almost joined. And then I like to use my hands and spread over to then fill over these seams. This is just how I like to do it, at least. Pop it in. And I'll cover it again with cling film, and we're just mainly looking for it to definitely fill out the sides here, and it'll be nice and fluffy again. These little black specks, these are just from the Redmond Real Salt, so that is completely fine. Alrighty, oven's preheated. This has puffed up nicely. So as you can see, it's filling out this tin more, and now you can bake it just like this. I'm gonna go ahead and use my lane just to do some scores. It's not necessary, the recipe doesn't call for this, I just like the look of it. So I'm just gonna do 3 score lines. So there we go, this is gonna go into the oven now. The oven's preheated at 180 degrees Celsius, fan force, for 30 minutes. Alrighty, so orange poppy seed cupcakes, well muffins. We need oranges, so I've got my little basket here, and we'll go get some from the tree. But of course, on the walk by, a little update, we still only have 2 onions that germinated in Nick's onion section. We have a lettuce growing there, although all the lettuces I planted was on the other side of this, which this is all calendula, which is looking super good. We did have issues with aphids and green cabbage moths, but we're coming good. Here we got our lettuces. So I done 4 different varieties, only 2 varieties ended up germinating, but we are still right down there. We are still getting tiny babies. I've already done a full harvest on this, which I've cut everything back right down, and I'm excited for another harvest. Baby spinach, I've harvested this multiple times already. And then our stock, we officially lost 1 in the corner, and we also had another row of 3. So out of the 9 plants, we're down to 5. But again, they just got bad bug damage, but I think we've got that under control. And how exciting! I can't wait. And then this side is the ranunculus. Like, look how big these are getting. I'm so excited. But anyway, the orange tree. I gotta be honest, every time I come out here I get so scared because of the grasshoppers. They're so big and they just jump everywhere. But let's just get a few oranges. Ah! See? Look at him. Wow, it's so big. But I know they're scared of me. I'm so scared of them too though. Okay. Alrighty. Beautiful. Oops. Beautiful. Cute. Alright, so just taking the bread out the oven. The score line kind of worked here, but these 2 didn't really work as well. And I should have rotated the pan halfway through. It's what I usually do, but I don't know. I didn't think about it this time. So this side's a bit dark. This side's a bit paler. That's all well and good. So you can see more here where it's cracked, but oh, it smells so good. Beautiful. Alright, I have got these oranges, which they can come out soaking in water. I did give them a bit of a scrub, but there's also vinegar in the water. I did give them a bit of a scrub, just to get them clean. So should dry that off first. But what we want to do is zest and juice. So we want to start with the zesting. So we need half a teaspoon of zest for the glaze, and we need a tablespoon, oh did I say it's orange poppy seed muffins we're making, and a tablespoon of zest for the muffins. Now originally I was going to double this recipe, but I don't have enough oil. I might not even have enough sugar. I mean, if I don't have enough sugar, just for even on the one batch, I do have sweetener to use. Recipe calls for buttermilk. This is buttermilk, homemade buttermilk that I have in the freezer. When you do freeze liquids, you want to make sure to give, well, in glass containers at least, to give a good amount of space here because the liquid does expand. But this was almost a year ago. About 9 months ago. Yeah, homemade buttermilk. So that's why I wanted to double this recipe. Recipe calls for half a cup of buttermilk. This is definitely more than that. But I think maybe tomorrow for breakfast, I'll just make some buttermilk pancakes with the leftover here. Anyway, let's get to zesting our oranges because we want 1/4 cup of juice. And yeah, a couple of tablespoons of zest in total. When I do zest oranges or any citrus, I just use the fine side of the grater. And you want to make sure to not go down too deep, especially with this. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. So yeah, that's plenty of zest with that one orange. I'm not going to worry about doing a teaspoon and a tablespoon. I'll just keep about a teaspoon for the glaze icing, and then the rest we can chuck in. I'm sure that'll be fine. So I'll just eyeball. So that's plenty for the glaze, and then we can chuck the rest of this in this bowl. So now we want the juice. We want 1/4 cup of juice. It's done such a mess, but I can go into the bowl with the zest. So also in this bowl, I'm going to take my yucky oil again. We want half a cup of oil. So I'll just use the same measure and do this twice to make it half a cup. And this muffin recipe is pretty basic. You just mix the wet stuff in a bowl, mix dry stuff in a bowl, and fold it together. And that's about it. So that's our orange zest, our orange juice, and our oil. Now I want to make sure to give this a good shake. This is our buttermilk. You can definitely get store-bought buttermilk. It's my first time actually using my homemade buttermilk. And we want half a cup of this as well. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. And this can go back into the fridge, and I'll use this for pancakes, I think, tomorrow. Pancakes or fried chicken? I don't know. Maybe we might do fried chicken, we'll see. And 2 eggs. Before I mix this to combine, I will do my dry ingredients first, which we want 280 grams of plain flour, 150 grams of sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 12 grams is what I use there, 1/4 teaspoon of bicarb soda, which is like 2 grams, pinch of salt, and the other star of the show, poppy seeds, which we'll just add in 1.5 tablespoons. You just want to mix the dry together just to get, again, the flour kind of sifted and just everything all nice and combined evenly. And now with the wet, get that all nice and combined as well. All right, so this is where this recipe is now a little bit different. So the oven's been preheating at 220 degrees Celsius fan force. We have our muffins ready. Recipe calls for the jumbo muffins, the proper muffin size. This is cupcake size. I only got cupcake liners. I know you can make liners with baking paper, but I don't know. I prefer this size. Quicker and easier. So the timing is going to be not as long cooking because they're smaller in each section. They're smaller amounts. But we got the oven at 220 degrees Celsius. We're meant to cook that for 6 minutes and then reduce the oven to 190 degrees Celsius. Cook for another 12 to 16 minutes, but do not open the oven door. So I'm going to do the 220 for 4 minutes, I think. And then we'll reduce the oven down to 190 and bake for at least 10 minutes, and then we'll check them then. So for now, 220 degrees Celsius for 4 minutes. Then it goes down to 190 degrees Celsius for at least 10 minutes. And I'll let you know how long they ended up baking for. All right, so after the 10 minutes, it's all full with the light now. But after the 10 minutes, I checked them. They're only very slightly golden. And I did do a skewer in and it was pretty doughy. So I thought 4 more minutes and they're really nice and golden and they just feel much better. They smell a lot better too. So I'm calling these done. I do want to take them out and pop them on the wire rack. Woo, they're hot. Just moved it to this side of the bench so you can see it better. So there's our beautiful bread, which that's cooled down really, really nicely. And yeah, still very hot. All right, so for the icing, I got 2/3 of a cup of icing sugar in here. I'm just breaking up any lumps. And I want to add in our teaspoon of orange zest. And then with icing sugar or making icings is you want very little liquid. Adding more liquid will thin it out. If it's too thin, you need more powdered sugar, but you generally need a lot more powdered sugar to thicken it back up than you do liquid. So we're going to eyeball back 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla. And you know me, normally I always do a lot more than what it calls for, but we don't want that much liquid. So sticking with 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla there and 2 tablespoons of milk. So I think because it's not much vanilla, if we do need it more thin, I'm going to opt for vanilla over milk, I think, but we might be all right. Now I want this to be like a drizzle of icing, so I think this consistency right here is pretty much perfect. I'm going to remove the bread. Oh yeah, the bottom's cool. I'll just put that on the plate. These are still slightly warm, but because it's not like full like piping butter icing or something, it's fine if there's a little bit of warmth left to it. And it's going to be as simple as just taking a spoon and drizzling it on. Alrighty, so we'll let this sit till they're completely hardened. As you can see, it's kind of pulled up around here. I mean, it's going to be delicious. Not the look I was going for, but that's okay. And because I'm just that absolute starving, I'm just going to try one now. I am so hungry. So, slightly warm, and obviously the icing's not set, but it'll be fine. I'm so hungry. Smells so good. Okay. Wow. Wow. The cake is so fluffy and light. It's got a crisp muffin top. So good. This muffin recipe is definitely a keeper. I'm probably gonna make another batch. I already said to one of my friends I will drop her off some. And yeah, I think I need more oil and more sugar. And I reckon that leftover buttermilk, I might just make another batch of these muffins tomorrow. But thank you so much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. The porridge, the bread, and the muffin recipe will all be down in the description box below. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.